I'd like to welcome everyone to our board meeting today to go through the Towns Fund public part of our meeting. So welcome to everybody today. Is there anybody that's joining us new, Mark, David, from anybody new that needs introductions? I don't think there is.
So I think the Police Inspector Peter Poulton will be joining us later, Chair. He's giving us apologies. He might be a few minutes late joining, but he'll be joining us at some stage during the meeting, as I understand it.
Thank you very much, David. Okay, declarations of interest. Any other declarations of interest that they're already been sent in? Is there any particular things on the agenda that people would declare any interest other than the standard ones that we've got? No show of hands for that. Jane, should we just go through the public part of the minutes like we normally do? If you bring them up, I'll go through page 1, 2 and 3, and then we'll approve them as a true reflection of our
just
meeting.
bear with me and I'll share my screen. Right, so the last meeting, are we right, was the 29th of January?
Yeah. We just scroll
They
down.
should be on the screen now.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, Jane.
Let me just scroll through. So page 1. Let me know if you need me to stop.
No problems.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And that's it.
Thank you. And I think one of the matters outstanding matters arising was the police, which were very kindly David has said that somebody will join later on. So thank you. Is there any other matters arising that we need to know about, Jane, that are in the contact? So,
not that I'm aware of. I think when I spoke with Serinda, she said that the 2 actions had been sorted. So okay. The one obviously was the rep from the police, and Natasha Mann had provided some information on getting public insight into the various projects.
I think Peter's here and he's got his hand up, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Peter, can I bring you in and can you do your introductions, and I'll get everyone just to very quickly just give their names and their background.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I am sorry that I'm slightly late to the meeting. I did promise that I'll try and get into it as best as possible. So my name is Pete Poulton. I am the sector inspector and I cover the following areas. So I cover Walsall Town Centre, Pleck and Palfrey, and I also have Woodland Hall and Darlaston under my umbrella as well. So I'm the local policing inspector for the areas. I'm very new, don't have much insight as to the meeting that I'm coming into, but I am here as the police rep.
Thank you very much. Shall we just very quickly go around, starting with Claire in the list? So we've got Claire first. So Claire, do you want to give a background, and then Dan, and we'll just go through them so Peter knows who's at this board.
Thanks, Chair. So Claire Wills, Programme Development and Delivery Manager at Walsall Council. So I manage some of the Bloxwich projects, Pete. Nice to meet you.
Okay. David?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, hi, hello, Peter. It's David Moore. We spoke earlier on the phone. I'm Director of Special Programmes for Walsall Council. So nice to see you in person.
Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Liz Connolly. I'm the Senior Policy and Performance Officer in the Policy and Strategy Unit at the Council.
Okay. Ray?
Hi, Peter. My name is Ray Flynn. I'm Associate Director for Corporate and Strategic Advice at the University of Wolverhampton.
Okay. Helen?
I'm Helen Kirk. I'm the Programme Management Officer for the Community Capital Programmes across Bloxwich and Walsall for Walsall Council.
Okay. James?
Hi everybody, James Norris, Assistant Principal for Adults Work-Based Learning and Partnerships at Walsall College.
Okay. Jane?
Hi, yep, I'm the Business Support Officer for Programme Management Team, and I'm covering this meeting from my colleague Serinda, who's on annual leave this week.
Thank you. Carl?
Hi Peter, Carl Woodward. I'm Head of Procurement for the Workers' Education Association, and I also represent the Walsall Advisory Board.
Thank you. Kelly?
Hi, Kelly Valenti, Walsall Council. I lead the accountable body team, mainly dealing with finances, governance and business cases.
Okay. Kevin?
Hi, Pete. Thanks for making the meeting. Pete and I've engaged in other spaces to get him here, so I'm really grateful that he's here. My camera's off for the moment, but it will be on shortly.
Thank you. Mark?
Mark Lavender, Head of Programme Management. In this context, I head up the accountable body services, but I also lead on the development and delivery of some of the projects in Bloxwich.
Okay. Matthew?
Hi, Matt Lloyd. I'm one of the Programme Management Officers in the accountable body team.
Natasha?
Hi, I'm Communications Business Partner at Walsall Council, looking after communications and marketing for regeneration.
Okay. Peter?
Hi, Peter. Pete Hall, Canals and River Trust. So we're undertaking works in the canal basin to fit in with the overall regeneration strategy for the Walsall town, pontoon gates, boater facilities, and a litter boat.
Okay. Peter, the other Peter Bolton?
That'd be me.
Hi, Peter. I'm glad I'm remembering you. I'll sort that out. Richard.
It took me a couple of seconds to think, oh, is that my name?
See, you're catching me out already, Peter. Richard.
Hi, Peter. I represent Walsall Council. I'm Construction Director for Walsall Town Centre projects for the Walsall Town Deal projects at the Town Centre.
Okay. Robert.
Rob Judson, Chief Operating Officer for HomeServe North America, but originally from Walsall, and HomeServe's representative both in the Town Board deal and also in the Bloxwich team.
Thank you, Rob. Rupert?
Hello, Peter. I'm Rupert Fairfax. I'm a local saddler, and I am also chair of the Bloxwich Advisory Board.
Okay. And Sean?
Yeah. Hi, Peter. I'm Sean Darcy, Director of Finance and Assurance at the Council. So quite a few of my staff have already introduced themselves to you, and I'm also responsible for signing a lot of the returns off that go back alongside Manjit as Chair of the Board.
Peter, Manjit Duty, Chair of the Board, and thank you for joining us. We've been looking for police representation on this board, and I will ask in the private part of the meeting around you joining the board as an official, if that's okay with you. Okay, so can we go into next? Just bear with me. So can I ask Rupert to give us an update on the Bloxwich Advisory Board, Rupert, if there has been a meeting?
I'm afraid there hasn't, Chair. I mean, in spite, we had one scheduled for the 10th of April, and then there was we tried to reschedule it because a few people couldn't make it, and we had various different cases. Surinder made huge efforts to make it happen, but unfortunately, we didn't. So for the first time, actually, since in 5 years, I think it is now, we actually come to this board without having had a meeting, which isn't a bad record. So anything that I would say would probably be rather out of date. So can I pass for this particular meeting? Apologies.
No problems at all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Carl, can I bring you in with an update for Walsall, please?
Certainly, thank you, Chair. I sympathise with Rupert. We had a similar occurrence ourselves, but we managed to squeeze a meeting in, thankfully. So Surinder managed to pull out the stop. So the Walsall Advisory Board met on the 2nd of April. We had a good attendance. We had the usual format that most of you are quite familiar with. Obviously, Pete won't be, but I'll try and sort of outline it. So we had the financial updates, which identified some reductions to some risk in some of the projects through the match funding arrangements that have been ongoing. We've got increases to the projected outcomes and output forecasts on many of the projects, with a slight decrease to a couple of them, which additional interventions and support is ongoing. We're advised that we are to report to the government in May with the project leads to ensure Verto is up to date on any of the risks identified, and hopefully all being well, we sign off with the Section 151 officer as planned. And then on the financial bit, we've confirmed there's no PARs or project adjustment requests will be necessary. So that's a positive indication on progress, because we were talking we might have to go in for some adjustments that we've not had to do. So again, credit to everybody involved on that score to not get to that position. Moving on, we then had an update on marketing and communications, and probably many of you have seen some of the feeds that are now coming out. We're seeing much more activity around that, so a great credit to Natasha and the team on that. We'll start to see much more visibility of what's happening and what's going on. So we had an update on that, and some of the campaigns, both ongoing and planned, in particular with some of the soon-to-be announced appointments concerning some of the construction and delivery of the work programmes about to commence. Now, that may have already happened, because obviously we met earlier in the month, but so again, more focus around the communication on what's happening within the centre on around those projects specifically, and more tie-in with the partners and contractors involved, etc., to resonate that message. On the Power BI stuff, on the reporting side, we had updated on that. From what I could see on the notes, we've moved from amber to we've moved from red to amber, based on the milestone reporting. So again, we're improving in terms of our reporting and our visibility on that. We reiterate the importance for any project leads requiring any assistance to ensure that the content and the to ensure that they're accurate, and if they need any support, they speak to the technical lead on that, obviously, which is Matthew, so that we just make sure that people are on board with that. And we also make sure the guidance was clear, because we've got a number of other new projects that are being talked about as part of the CRP piece. So again, it was how do we make sure that's landed correctly with those new leads, etc. So again, the guidance is all there for the Verto stuff. Now, we're not saying we're going to reply to all, but again, we're in the right place going forward that for any new that they'll soft land that, and we should be able to put our arms around them on that. Joint projects, active travel, nothing really to report on that. Just again, the continued slight delay with regards to the shelter piece that everybody is aware of, but in terms of the project and the programme and everything else, very good. Again, and with the involvement with Canals and Rivers Trust on that, there's some slight other considerations being planned around that into the future, but again, they're early stage of review, but again, all positive all round on that front. Community capital, we've got 3 projects that have commenced with planning applications being accepted on 2, and a 3rd currently under consideration, and we've got some other expression of interest ongoing. So again, Helen and team, credit to all involved there, and Claire has been managed very well, and they're supporting the individual organisations themselves as well, some of which are very small and they need that added support. So we're doing the right things on that front. We had an update from David Moore regarding the Healthy Levelling Up and the transition to CRP and some of the additional funding aspects around that, aligned to some of the grant agreements now being rolled out. So again, good progress on that. Tight time frames with the additional requirements being asked of the officers, etc. And so whilst I know it's a common theme that I praise the officers in that, but I don't think it should be understated the great efforts that are being made here, but from both the officers and the project leads, because there's an enormous amount going on behind the scenes to bring this together. In terms of the due diligence, the governance, the compliance, it's maintained to the highest standard. And to be honest, I've paid first witness to that, and I can say it's excellent. I really can endorse what the teams are all doing on that front. Excellent work all round. Adult learning, dialogue ongoing, options being considered and shared at the next meeting. Connected gateway progress due to the interconnection with Bradford Mall. Again, visibility on that in terms of communications and the interconnections with all of this. Active public spaces, I promise I'm nearly finished. Update and details of interventions and physics improvements have been made. So this, on the active public spaces, again, some future considerations been brought into that. I'll come on to that in a second. On the digital hubs, again, we're reporting outputs of users, so project delivered and results happening and positively. And then just really the only thing that was a comment, it's probably a good time with Peter's involvement, was there was some observations from the board just in regards to some valid concerns really around some of the delivered recent projects. And just in terms of how we protect how we consider the environments around those assets and what have you, and just perhaps some of the activity around that. So I think that's for further discussion, but I think it's good time that Peter's involved, because it's quite evident from some of the feedback from the advisory board that we're conscious that we want to make sure that, the things that are being put in are, maintained, looked after, respected, valued, and they actually bring the benefit to the people that they're focused towards, and we don't undervalue that. Next meeting is planned for June. Chair, that's what I've got as an update. Hope that's agreeable.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions for Carl? Thank you for the update. Thank you. So just on the minutes, just going back to minutes now, thanks for that. Just want to make sure that I've read them and there's true reflection. Can I just get somebody second them for me before we move on to close the public part of our meeting? Can somebody second them for me? Thank you, Carl. So Jane, we can take them as read. Thank you very much. No question there. Peter, what we can do is in the private part of the meeting, we may want to pick up the question that Carl asked around some of the work that's going on around Bloxwich and Walsall. If you can give us an overview of what's happening, that would be really helpful. Our next public part of this meeting will be on the 25th of June 2025 at 2:30. So I'd bring this public meeting to a close. So Jane, can you stop recording for me?
Yeah, will do.
Let me know when that's stopped.